just kind of curious, kind of what do you attribute just maybe how just fresh you guys looked? Would you think it was the extra day off, the fact you're getting some guys back, or the chance to practice, or just sort of why do you think your team looked as I guess good tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I do think yesterday was helpful. I do think that was helpful. I think we started off the game well, which was good. I think carried that momentum. Other than maybe the last 4 minutes of that second quarter, we didn't close great, but we responded there in the third. I think getting Zach back and getting Vooch back, I really appreciated the way that both of them play, because I think sometimes when guys come back, especially the caliber player, those two guys. I think players, your team can kind of take a step back and say, okay, this, they're coming back, and now, my role is going to be different. But we still needed to play how we need to play, and obviously I gave Zach shorter stints just because of the fatigue, just to make sure he was okay. And like I said earlier, I think Vooch didn't necessarily have a whole lot of time off. Maybe the 5 days helped him kind of recharge, so to speak. But I thought we had good bounce and good pop. And, the answer for that, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the guys went out there and really competed and battled, for most of the game.
How did you feel about what you saw from Zach and then Vooch as well, just kind of like you said after the short stint off?
I thought we were really good offensively at different points in time in the game. And then there was some other times I thought we really got kind of choppy and clunky a little bit. I thought Zach, again, he creates so much attention. You always feel good when he shoots the basketball. I thought there was a lot more opportunities for him to shoot the ball and to try to go score or attack. But I also think, too, coming off of him being out for 3 weeks, I think the respect he has for his teammates was I just need to kind of fit in and, just take my shots when they're there and not necessarily try to force things. So I thought he played fine. He played well. I think it was good that he was able to get a game under his belt, because yesterday was the only day of contact for him. And, I thought Vooch looked good, too. Like I said, he's probably a little bit in a better situation cardiovascularly, than Zach is, just because it's 5 days. But I thought, Vooch looked fine. We'll check on both those guys tomorrow to see where they're at both at physically. But I thought both guys, looked fine. Obviously, I thought Vooch really stretched the floor for us. We found him in that second and third quarter and got him some threes.
Sam Smith, go ahead, please.
I wonder if you could elaborate on the impact of having Zach and Vooch back. You've had, so many difficult starts recently, and the impact it has not only on the floor but the other players. It seemed like mostly in these recent games there was so much pressure on the starters just because there just wasn't enough scoring on the floor, and seemingly with at least even the presence with Zach not scoring a lot seemed to make a big difference for even some of the other players.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Sam, on that. Just a couple things, you have to, in order to generate offense in this league, unless you just got a great one-on-one player that can just do it by himself, you have to get two on the basketball to create ball movement. And you generally do that by someone breaking down the defense and driving and forcing rotations, or you do it by dumping the ball in the post. Well, when you take your best perimeter player off the floor for us, who's a creator and a playmaker, so to speak, in Zach, and then you take off a guy like Vooch, and not only spreads the floor, but you can throw into the low post, and they have to double him sometimes, and it gets guys easier catch and shoot shots. I think that was one of the challenges when both those guys went out, was, to your point, the creativity, how we creating shots, and we really kind of had to do it. Just, I said, through ball movement, player movement, try to create some false actions, try to get some drives, try to get some rotations, try to kick it out. And then at times we tried to play through Thad, to be quite honest with you, just to try to get some buckets or try to force some double teams. But yeah, I totally agree with you. We're not a team that, that necessarily plays off the bounce and creates off the dribble a great deal. So the way we've got to try to do that is with Zach's playing downhill and creating, and then also posting up Tice, or, if Tice gets a mismatch or he's posted there, or Vooch. Sometimes when help comes, they're unselfish enough, those guys, to pass the ball out. And that a lot of times makes the game easier, because our perimeter guys are now playing against closeouts, which it's a lot easier playing against closeouts than the guys just, head up guarding you one-on-one. But I do agree that it opened up some things for us. Yes.
Thanks.
Yep.
Rob, you got the next one here. Go ahead.
Yeah, Billy, that was the first game, I believe, that you started that specific 5-man grouping with Kobe, Zach, Pat, Vooch, and Tice. just given how they played, obviously it's been a work in progress to try to find the right combinations for that starting group, given how that group played. And then, as you mentioned with Thad, like what he's able to do to balance lineups off the bench with his playmaking. Do you think you might have found something sustainable there with that specific 5-man, or are you still kind of toying with that?
Yeah, no, I think the one thing, Rob, it's like the same thing. Sometimes there's not like a huge gap, for example, like I thought Thad could have had a really good offensive first half. I didn't think he did it, have a great first half offensively, but like he's a veteran guy, and you sit there sometimes, okay, you want to put Tice back in because he's playing so well, but you got a lot of confidence in Thad being a veteran, but sometimes it's like not a lot of difference, right? So you always just don't want to necessarily stay in a particular rotation. And then on a given night, certain guys maybe are playing pretty well. So you kind of maybe go with them a little bit longer. And I thought Thad was terrific, to close the third and to start the fourth for us. He had that big dunk, got him on the baseline, but he had a driving layup. He had assists. He really played very, very well. And then I thought Tice really played well off Vooch to start the game, So, yeah, to your point with Zach being out and now Vooch, out a couple games. Yeah, I mean, it's been hard for us to pair all these guys together. But again, this is against Charlotte, how they came out, how they matched up. It may look totally different against Boston based on how they come out and how they play. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I felt good about the group, the way they played. And I also felt good about the second unit. The second unit came in, I thought did a really, really nice job as well. I didn't think we closed that second quarter great, but that wasn't, them. That was more the starters coming back in. And but we started the third quarter a lot better.
What was the reaction on the bench to that Thad dunk that you just mentioned? To see him
Oh,
get
I
up
think
like
those
that,
guys. We always give him a hard time talking about how old he is all the time, So that's generally like the topic of conversation there. But no, I mean, Thad can still get off the floor. And the thing that's amazing with him, I don't think people maybe they realize it, but I don't know it's talked about enough. He's such a quick jumper. He springs up so quickly, and I think a lot of times people maybe are amazed when he gets down low against so much bigger guys with longer length. He still gets those shots off in there because he's so quick off his feet. It's almost like you don't have time to jump. And I think that lob was kind of like the same thing. He gets off the floor so quick, and before you know it, he's dunked it. And but I think the guys were happy for him. The guys love that. He's always been, like I said, he's been a great team guy and a great leader for the group, and he's been really good in the locker room with those guys. So I'm sure those guys were happy to see that.
Thanks, Billy.
Yep.
Christos, go ahead, please.
Coach, at this point of the season, how important for the rest of the group was to have Zach back on the court? And it was like a confidence booster, his presence on the court.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have Zach out there. I mean, he creates a lot of attention. Again, I think it was the first game for him to get his legs under him. You can ask him how he felt. I gave him shorter stints just because I thought it'd be very, very difficult for him to play long rotations. I thought he looked good out there moving. It appeared to me that, fatigue was a little bit of a factor. He did get winded. I think that's totally normal. I'm not surprised by that. But he's, it's just great having him out there. I'm happy for him that he can be back out there. I know when he's out there, it helps us and it makes us a better team.
All right, Alexander, go ahead.
Coach, congratulations on the victory. Does a victory like this give you more confidence before some of the upcoming games? Tomorrow, you only have 24 hours for the Celtics to prepare, and then next week you have the Nets twice, actually, coming up.
Yeah, I mean, it's one game. We're going to have to regroup and come back. I mean, inevitably tomorrow, when the game starts, what happened today's got nothing to do with that. I think we can hopefully build off of maybe having some more players back in the rotation. But Boston, plays a little differently than Charlotte. The personnel's different than Charlotte. Every team's different. Every team presents different challenges. So it was good to see our guys respond the way they did today. Charlotte's been a team I think that's played well all year long. They're hard to guard, with all their spacing and driving and their playmakers. But I thought our guys did a good job, especially in that second half, defending the three-point line. That was a problem for us in the first half. But hopefully it's something we can build off of. But just because we did a pretty good job here tonight doesn't necessarily mean we're going to do that tomorrow night. So we're going to have to regroup and try to put forth a good effort again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.